Hello everybody and welcome to my second retro review. Today, as promised, I shall be reviewing this, which is my Sinclair Spectrum Plus 2 Model B. Bit of information about the Spectrum range, brought out by Sinclair Computers in 1982 or 83. I remember the exact year. Sinclair has been around for the best part of, 40, maybe 50 years now. Been designing lots of different things, such as hi-fis, miniature televisions has been a favourite of theirs as well. And then in 1980 they brought out the famous Sinclair ZX computer, which was the world's first computer to sell for below £100, which is pretty much the whole Sinclair sort of point. They like to make things cheaply, and I think probably their motto would have been electronics for the masses, not the classes. It touched off a whole computer revolution in the UK and brought computers from the labs into people's homes. And you can pretty much, either blame or credit Sinclair with the reason why we've all got computers in our houses today. So, this particular model that I have here is an Amstrad model. Back in 1985-86, Sinclair was in the midst of serious financial problems. His C5 car had completely bombed, only about 12,000 was sold, even though they'd spent maybe £15 million developing it. Also, the sales of his miniature television hadn't gone as well as they'd expected, and that alone had cost £4 million for the research and development of it. Back in the 1970s, when Sinclair had Sinclair Radionics, which is where he was developing his original miniature television, like hi-fis, etc., and was still researching his car, they would have had what was called the National Enterprise Board, which a company that was having financial trouble could go to and ask for a bit of money. Normally it would involve selling a share of the company to the NEB, as it was called. Now, Sinclair had experience of this in the late 70s because his stuff hadn't exactly sold well. There was something called the Black Watch, which it completely bombed entirely. And the thing was so fragile that the static from your shirt could cause the internal electronics in the watch to fry. So he lost a shitload of money there and had to turn to the government. And he felt constrained while under them. He wanted to develop lots of different new products, but the NEB were, quite, what's the word? Methodical about the way that they were running Sinclair Radionics. They didn't want to do anything that would risk losing any more money, but of course Sinclair was an inventor. He needed to, come up with new ideas, go out with concept products, etc., in order to do what he was supposed to be doing. And with the NEB in control of Sinclair Radionics, they pretty much just carried on selling and developing the stuff that he'd already got. So eventually the company was broken up because it just wasn't profitable enough, and Sinclair was given what's called the Golden Handshake, which was a cheque for £10,000. Sinclair used that to start up his own new company, which was Sinclair Research Limited, which went on to make the Mark 14 microcomputing kit, which was like a little circuit board, processor, hexadecimal keyboard, LED display, etc. That went on to sell rather well, so he decided to bring out the ZX80, which I mentioned earlier, which, took the marketplace by storm. Everybody wanted one, and it pretty much set Sinclair Research on a course for glory, basically. Then, of course, they brought out the ZX81, and after the ZX81, the ZX Spectrum. So, where was I earlier? Oh yes, financial troubles, 85-86. So, without the NEB to help him, he was approached by Alan Sugar's Amstrad. If you don't know what Amstrad is, I'm sure you'll know what Alan Sugar is if you've watched The Apprentice. You're fired. So he bought out Sinclair's computer range, and letting Sinclair still keep Sinclair research so he could develop his own products again. And brought out a string of newer computers, which was the Sinclair Plus 2 and Plus 3 range. Design was slightly different from the Sinclair norm. It was more based on sort of the Amstrad CPC look, with included tape drive, and also a first for Sinclair computers, a full-stroke keyboard. Beforehand it had all been membrane stuff and the god-awful printed plastic that was like trying to read Braille through gardening gloves. But with all these improvements, they did cause a few problems. They redesigned the ROM to make up for some other stuff, and it brought in a few incompatibilities with all the games. So I've had a really fun time trying to work out which games work on this thing. This is the third Plus 2 I've had, and I've never been able to run all the games that I've had with them. So, today she'll be reviewing this. I'll show you the insides. Now that is very dusty. Anyway, we've got the Zilog Z80. Zilog was a processor company that got bought out by Exxon, I think in 1981, when they wanted to start making their own microcomputers. A lot of people reckon that if Zilog had been able to stay independent, they could have, if they'd been around today, they would be even, more powerful than Intel. But anyway, standard chips is at the Amstrad chip here. Let's see if I turn it up. So the motherboard is quite compact on this, as it was with all Sinclair computers. But anyway, here you have the internal mechanism for the tape drive and circuit board, and also there are lots of different cables here, so it's going to take me a while to put it back together. I shall be back shortly. Bloody hell, 8 minutes and I haven't even turned the thing on yet. Anyway, the game I'm going to be trying is Back to the Future 3. This was a game that was brought out to take advantage of the Sinclair Plus 2 or latest Sinclair models Yamaha sound chip. So we should get some nice little music. And no, these are not screenshots from the Spectrum version. No, of course not. These are probably the screenshots of the Amiga version. Yes, Amiga. See, those are 16-bit. The Spectrum is 8-bit. But anyway, hopefully I've got the joystick in the right socket. But anyway, loader. Insert tape and press play. I wait for this. This is fun. Now that's the computer loading the data from the cassette drive. So it's found the program and it's now loading it. All of this is the graphical representation of the data being loaded into the machine, and that horrible screeching sound is the noise that's coming from the tape drive. Most computers of the time did have this all sort of theme here, but the Dragon 32 that I showed you in the previous video had no sound and pretty much no sort of indication that the program was being loaded, apart from it's coming up with bytes and the name of the program. But anyway, once this is finished loading, I will get back to you.